All right, so we've got the amazing Gavin Andrews, who is Managing Director of HeartMath UK, who's coming on now. So, while we wait for him, I created this Resourced and Resilient series of conversations in the lead up to the Resourced and Resilient Women programme starting on the 26th of February to gather wisdom and knowledge from many different places to talk about chronic stress, burnout, healing and embodying resilience, the resilience we need on every level: body, heart, head, mind, soul. And it's been such an incredible, rich mix of conversation so far. And we've still got some incredible people to come in the following weeks. But today we have my very own teacher who trained me to become a HeartMath coach last year. Hello from Morocco, welcome, welcome. And he trained me to become a HeartMath coach last summer. I discovered HeartMath nearly 5 years ago now to support my own healing and self-development journey initially. And over time, those HeartMath tools, the research, the technology, the heart sensor technology, the methods, all of that plays such a huge part in my work and plays a huge part in the Resourced and Resilient Women programme starting later in February. And the Resourced and Resilient Women programme is an 8-week programme to support women breaking the cycles of chronic stress, burnout, and build embodied resilience. And I'm delighted to see that we've got Gavin online. So let's see if we can add you again. Hey, we got it.
Anna, hello. Sorry.
Hi, that's all right. Oh, thank you.
I don't know what was going on there. I was on my computer and it just wouldn't let me in. So anyway, I'm here on my phone now.
You're here, and I'm delighted that you're here as well. And I'm conscious of time, so we'll dive in really quickly. But thank you for sticking with me and sticking with technology
That's
for the
okay. Well,
last 20 minutes.
it's a kind of masterclass in heart math. So as I'm kind of trying to get on and try not to stress, so I'm just practicing what I preach.
There we go. There we go. We can see it in action right now. Marvelous. So I was just mentioning, and I'll just repeat just in case. So Gavin was my very own teacher and trained me to become a HeartMath coach last year. And I discovered HeartMath about 5 years ago, firstly to support my own self-development and healing journey. And it plays such a huge part now in so much of my work, so much of my programs. Gavin is the managing director of HeartMath UK and Ireland. He's a resilience, well-being, and he runs a resilience, well-being, and stress management business. And he's also the co-founder of the Syntropy Partnership, which is a beautiful app that combines art and music for breath work, meditation, relaxation, and is the founder of We Add Heart, which is a global heart-focused meditation movement as well. So he's a busy man, and you're bringing some incredible work into the world. I would love to invite you to give a little bit of background on you, what you do, and how you came to be doing this work that you're doing now.
Oh, blimey. Okay. Well, we better give you the short version of that.
Yeah.
So how am I doing all of this? Okay. Well, why am I doing all this? I'm doing it because I had a very difficult period in my life where I don't think in hindsight I was completely burnt out, but basically I went through an experience where someone that I loved very much had cancer and eventually passed away from it. So my first wife died of breast cancer. And that was one of those experiences that kind of caused me to take a look at life and ask, like, what the hell is this all about? Who am I? What should I do in my life? Why did this happen? All of those types of things. So up until then, I'd actually been working in the media. in the newspaper industry, and I found myself coming out the other end of that very traumatic experience, asking lots of questions about what the hell life was all about and why this terrible thing had happened to somebody that I loved. So actually that's when I discovered HeartMath, or a little bit later than that, actually a couple of years later. I was on a different journey. I decided to leave my career behind. I was actually doing an MBA, master's degree in business, and I discovered, broadly speaking, kind of emotional intelligence and authentic leadership and stuff that enabled me to begin to work out some of the answers to the question like, who am I really, and what should I do with my time on this planet? And HeartMath appeared just one day. It was literally a kind of talk one day about the physiology of leadership, and somebody was talking about how your body and your brain are, inseparably connected, and how they influence each other, and how actually we can use the power of the heart to manage ourselves, to manage our physiology, but also to manage our emotions and our thoughts and our behaviors. And I was like, wow, this sounds very cool. And I was hooked right from there. So yeah, long story short is I started practicing the techniques. I bought some of the early biofeedback technology. I moved into like leadership development, coaching, training, that type of thing. And I started to use HeartMath more and more within that. And people seemed to really love it. It was always the bit that they said, oh, that HeartMath thing. Yeah, that was the best bit of the training. So then it wasn't until a few years after that I actually became formally involved with HeartMath, and then became HeartMath in the UK and Ireland in 2012. So basically, I'm the lucky guy now that looks after HeartMath in the UK and Ireland, and a few bits of Europe as well. But that's the short story of my introduction into it. I started doing this, practicing this stuff before I was involved, formally in the business.
Yeah, amazing. And that's similar in that I remember stumbling across an article about HeartMath, and I ended up reading it like 3, 4 times, and just everything totally making sense. Like, of course, this is doing that. And then started finding the tools, the methods. Went and bought myself a heart sensor. Was a nice little bit of extra gadget that that was tempting me at the time as well. But what enfolded it, and I think this this work, this heart math approach, and all the research and the learning that comes around it, is that it's one of those that will support you and can support you on every level,
Yeah.
physiologically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, even.
Yeah.
You're saying it, though, asking those big questions, existential questions,
Mhm.
soulful questions that led you. um How do you see HeartMath and the techniques supporting people who are struggling with stress and burnout in particular? Just because that's kind of the theme of this series. How do you see it supporting them?
Well, in simple terms, what HeartMath is enabling you to do is to just bring yourself back into balance.
Yeah.
So, ultimately what we're doing is we're helping the autonomic nervous system to go into a state of balance. We're doing that primarily initially through breathing, breath work. So very simple breath work, slow paced balanced breathing. So you're literally hacking into the autonomic nervous system, and you're putting it into balance between sympathetic and parasympathetic, instead of, if you're highly stressed, often the sympathetic, or if you're really burnt out, it could be in high parasympathetic as well. But we're just in real time bringing the two branches together into balance, so they're synchronizing between each other. Initially, that's done through the breathing, but an important part of HeartMath as well is the heart connection. So there's a kind of physical awareness of the heart that we advocate that people build awareness of. So most people are not, they're just stuck in their heads, not really aware of anything below here. So it's about nurturing that physical connection with the heart, which some people might have heard of the term interoception. So interoception is your sort of awareness of bodily states. Well, there's a lot of information that you can get from your body and from your heart. So if you build an awareness of it, it can let you know how you're doing. And then you have an opportunity to change what it's doing as well through the breathing. It's also about the emotional self-regulation. So recognizing that, emotions are reactions, and that's normal, but they're also choices. And a lot of the time, unfortunately, in the world we live in, we're always reacting. So we're not building in the time to make choices. So HeartMath is also about intentionally nurturing feelings, heartfelt feelings like gratitude, appreciation, love, compassion, care, all of the stuff basically that makes humans the best versions of
Yeah.
themselves, you know, those heart-based qualities. Um, so there's a benefit there of the positive emotions, and I'm sure that, you know, many people watching as well will understand that positive emotions are good for us. You know, they create all sorts of beneficial physiological changes, hormonal changes that support us. And so then, yeah, once you've got your heart doing this wonderful thing where it changes its performance, the autonomic nervous system's balanced, the rest of the body follows, and indeed the brain follows. So you find yourself with the brain going into more of the prefrontal cortex, where you can think much more, well, logically and rationally, but also more compassionately and more, you know, creatively. And you can kind of engage in complex situations and tasks much more effectively than when you're stressed. So it's bringing the body into balance, the mind into balance in terms of the thoughts, and then also your, you know, how you regulate yourself, your behaviors, your actions, the things that you say. And I guess the cool thing about HeartMath, the thing that we're known for probably most of all, is that there's a gadget that can, you know, show you when you're in that state and help you practice doing it, get better at it, and measure yourself over time. So it's the techniques that are actually the important bit. They make the difference. But for people who like the validation, who like the measurement, who like something to support their habit of practice, then the technology is pretty handy. So with these little kind of gadget things here that go on your clothes and go on your ear, and then they work with your phone, and you can actually see yourself putting yourself into this optimal state that we call coherence.
Yeah, I love my heart sensor, and I know for some of my clients, they find the sensor is really affirming, but also really enlightening. So in my 8-week program that I'm running again at the end of February, also inviting my clients not just to use it to get themselves into that kind of perfect sweet spot between rest and digest and sympathetic, and but also to go in when they're, and not just going in when they're already feeling kind of calm, you know, or actually going in after they've had that tricky conversation and noticing what their heart is doing when they're feeling particular emotions, because every emotion has its own kind of frequency, right? And it moves through us at a different rate. And so using the sensor can just give us this real opportunity to see what's happening behind the scenes when we're finding ourselves in different emotions, how much longer some take us to recover from to get to that sweet point of coherence. And that in itself is such a deepening in the relationship with ourselves, and having a greater kind of patience, respect for our different states, our human selves, and actually what we require to come back to that sweet spot, instead of putting the sensor in and going, right, come on, let's be calm. Let's come back to that sweet spot straight away, and maybe challenging those expectations that we put on ourselves sometimes as well. um it's it's such an incredible body of work and method to building resilience in on all levels. And something that really struck me when I started to learn about this stuff is how it can really support us in recovering from burnout. Would you tell us a little bit more about that? Because I know it, being my teacher, but I'm just, you know.
Yeah, well, so yeah, I mean, look, we see a lot of people who are burnt out and who are looking for tools to help support them. And so really to go, going back to the rebalancing thing, when you're burnt out, you're out of balance, and basically, you've been going too hard for too long, and at some point what's happened is the autonomic nervous system has become dysfunctional. And with burnout, what's happened is the brakes have gone on really, really hard. So you've been at a point where you've been overactive, and then what happens is the parasympathetic just basically goes, I've been trying to tell you for ages that you need to slow down and rest and recuperate and recover, and you haven't. So now I'm going to slam the brakes on, basically. And, that's what prompts the burnout. So, yeah, really, what's nice about HeartMath, I think, is it's very simple. And when you're stressed, when you're burnt out, you can't engage with complicated stuff. It's just impossible.
Yeah.
The brain's not in the right place to do that. You don't have the energy, you don't have the concentration. And so what you need is something that is just very, very simple but very powerful. And what people often don't realize is that their breath is incredibly powerful. The way that we breathe is doing amazing things to the body and the brain in ways that we're actually, scientifically, we're only just beginning to understand and appreciate. I mean, there's research that's come out recently about the importance of breathing in terms of brain health, and
Yeah,
that these types of techniques can actually protect your brain. And there has to, we can't say this just yet because we need more longitudinal studies, but certainly have the potential to protect against
yeah,
dementia, maybe even things like
yeah.
Alzheimer's. So if we think of burnout as an extreme state of being out of balance,
Mm.
then it really is just about spending some time, and it does take time. This isn't magic. We can't expect to wave a magic wand and heal within a day or two. But dedicated practice over time will begin to retrain the autonomic nervous system back into a state of balance that will then become at some point the norm, the new set point, as it were. And then that's special because the autonomic nervous system begins to recognize this as normal, as comfortable, and it wants to sustain it. And actually, you will know when you're out of it because you'll feel uncomfortable. And so that then gives you, the self-awareness to do something about it. So it becomes this sort of virtuous cycle where with the practice, you're able to self-regulate more frequently. With self-regulating more frequently, your self-awareness increases. And so you're catching yourself when you're out of balance much more frequently and therefore able to do something about it. So we get to a place where ideally, we can then kind of like modulate. We'll never avoid stress. That's not going to happen. It's not even healthy. But we can modulate the excesses or the unhelpful stress in our lives, and then prevent ourselves hopefully from going back into another burnout. And again, as many people will be aware, unfortunately, some people in particular are prone to kind of like multiple burnouts. The nice thing about HeartMath is, from my perspective, you learn how not to fall into those traps
Yeah.
time and time again.
Yeah. And I mean, I was that person for many years where almost like burnout was my natural interceptor.
Mm.
It was almost like my regulator because I didn't know how to stop. And so it was the only way. It was like putting the brake on because I wasn't doing it for
Yeah,
myself. And the I'm really glad you talked about like the finding familiarity slowly with getting into these states because often when we're running in these states of stress, sympathetic fight, flight for long periods of time, actually feeling calm doesn't feel safe or relaxing.
mm.
And what I loved about the state of coherence is that actually because it's kind of meeting us in this sweet spot between the two, we're not expecting to go into that place where we might fear actually going, maybe getting stuck or going to freeze if that's a place that we feel we land in when we get overwhelmed. So why would we want to lay down on the floor and
Yeah,
breathe? And coherence offers that like really grounded space but also really awake state. It's
mm.
like it's that sweet spot between I feel my feet on the earth and I can welcome life in as well. Um, and it's such a helpful inroad that I've used so much with clients, particularly if they have trauma in their background, if they're really running in that sympathetic state more often than not, that coherence can be that really helpful inroad to over time welcoming in more rest and digest. But in the meantime, finding familiarity here.
Yeah,
Um, because it's, we're not going to expect them to suddenly be relaxed all the time. And they can also start to welcome in some of that
mm.
interoception. Um, and it's that focus around the heart where we're not saying drop into your body right now and feel all the feelings that again can be really overwhelming for people. We're just like, focus your attention here. Maybe it's just focusing on the outline of your hand or visualizing this space if you don't want to place your hands on your body. It's such a helpful gateway to more embodied ways of engaging with yourself over time. And just as you said, it's a gradual, it's as slow as the fast way in the long term. Um, I really love the fact that also HeartMath helps us to build resilience through its techniques. And I wonder what does resilience mean to you first? Because it's quite a broad term.
Yeah, I don't really like it. I must
Yeah,
admit. I mean, it's certainly overused,
yeah,
and I think there's a danger, particularly in the worlds of kind of business and sport, that resilience is something that people kind of like strive for. It's like keep going for longer type thing. It's like mental toughness or physical toughness. Just keep on going in the face of adversity. I don't think that's very helpful, because actually I think that you can have some of those skills and abilities. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're enjoying your life. There's a lot of people who are resilient, who are just keeping on, and are not thriving. So that's my preferred word, actually, is thriving. But look, lots of people are using the word resilience, and lots of people want it. So for me, it isn't a single thing. There's multiple aspects. It's definitely got a physical aspect to it. It's got a mental aspect to it as well. They're the two main ones that people mostly think about. But it has got an emotional aspect to it, and this is not about not having emotions. It's about having a rich emotional life. It's having emotional
yeah,
flexibility. We're humans. We're supposed to have emotions.
yeah,
And there's nothing wrong with, I don't even like the word negative emotions, like unpleasant feelings and emotions. There's nothing wrong with them. They're normal. They only really become a problem when we're out of balance. We've got too many
yeah,
unpleasant feelings and emotions, and not enough of the pleasant
yeah.
ones. And so, resilience is also about having this rich, balanced emotional life.
Mm.
And you mentioned spiritual earlier, and I think that's really important. You don't necessarily need to use the word spiritual, but certainly existential, or just the stuff around our identities, the roles that we play in life, the purpose, meaning, is what we're doing kind of worthwhile, without needing to save the planet or anything. It's just like, what am I doing with my time here? And in what way is that fulfilling?
Yeah,
So for me, that's what resilience is all about. It's not enough to just focus on the physical and, eat well and sleep well and exercise, and all that stuff's important. But if you don't have the other components, the mental resilience, the ability to kind of like, focus, or take a bigger picture perspective, or, engage with paradoxes, conflicting things, that flexibility as
yeah,
well. If you can't do that, then that's a problem. If you don't have an emotional life where you can, self-regulate,
hmm,
recognize that emotions are also choices, so exercise that choice,
hmm,
exercise gratitude. There's so much research on gratitude, and the benefits of it. Appreciation, love, recognize that your interactions with others as well, you have some control over the nature of those interactions and the emotions that you receive from that. And then, yeah, the other side of things is this kind of existential. And I think, a lot of people, actually, one of the reasons why they get burnt out is a lack of awareness in that space.
yeah, yeah. It's losing the meaning
Yeah,
behind things. And
yeah,
we are meaning making creatures. So when we start to go, why am I doing this anyway? Then all the other layers of us start to get distressed, overwhelmed when we don't have that meaning behind it. That when we're not living in integrity with the things that are most important to us, that will be setting off a very clear embodied response. It will be a
yeah,
sensation, that feeling of, oh yeah,
yeah,
this doesn't feel good. But if we're not engaging with that, and I think this is another reason, that another maybe less spoken thing about in that lead up to burnout, it's about living in that conflict, or that's depleting in itself, that
yeah,
we're doing one thing but we're feeling and believing another, and carrying on doing that it's just depleting us bit by bit as well.
yeah,
um the, the thing that I find really interesting around emotions, and the heart math work really helped me to kind of put it into words, was, as you say, there's no bad emotion. We do need to find ways to express and move through and process the whole spectrum of being
mm,
human, really. And so, finding ways to build our capacity to hold the discomfort as well is really important. And understanding that, all of our emotions will either fall into, or, yeah, our emotions will either be resourcing us, putting energy back on the grid, or they'll require recovery time.
Hmm.
And those that require recovery time can also be those sympathetic, expansive states like,
Yeah.
exhilaration,
Yeah.
passion. I mean,
Yeah.
they are big and beautiful things, but actually they're putting us into that sympathetic state too. And so we do require downtime after that. And just starting to look at our emotions in that respect can be really empowering. Like, okay, it's been a big, exciting day. Now I need to just come back into that sweet spot,
Yeah.
clear some of that allostatic load that may have been building up, and come back to that place where I'm grounded and awake again.
But it's a really important point because, again, depending on personality types, we can think that we're having an amazing life because we're having lots of excitement and joy and kind of novelty, and
Yeah,
but basically, we're burning a candle at both ends. Now,
yeah.
you can get away with that for quite a long time. The protective power of youth is incredible. But if
Sounds like
you get
my
to a certain
20s.
point, yeah, you get to a certain point in life where you just can't do that. And so for many people, it's navigating that transition point where you realise, actually, do you know what? I cannot party all night and all day and still function, and I just can't do it anymore. I'm 51. I just can't do it. I can't live the life that I could live in my mid 20s.
Yeah.
And so it's those sort of transitionary points of life where you need to recognise, okay, that excitement stuff, that's great, and I still want that in my life, but actually I do need to kind of back off. I need to find ways to top up the battery
Yeah.
as well, because my battery gets drained a bit quicker, the older I get than it used to. And it's just it's just a fact of life. That's what happens. But if we don't navigate it and keep trying to push ourselves too hard, and I've seen this with friends of mine, basically you're going to reach a point of and crashing and burning, and that's not because bad things have been happening in your life. It's just because you've been challenging yourself too hard and too long. Like you said, that allostatic load has built up over a period of time, and eventually your body's just going to go, enough of the partying now. I
Yeah.
need to relax.
I want to
Yeah.
sleep. I want to sleep. Um, so what's your vision for HeartMath and its work out in the world? What do
Well,
you see it?
I think,
What part do you see it playing?
well, but broadly, so what really heart math is all about is creating actually more of a heart-led world,
Yeah,
helping people live heart-based lives. Because our perspective, and this is kind of the spiritual side of heart math, if you like. We're entirely non-religious, but there is a spiritual or esoteric dimension, which is the best of humanity comes from the heart. It's those heart characteristics. It's care, it's love, it's courage. Not all soft stuff.
oh,
It's also courage and bravery and valor, and
yeah,
that base. They are heart-based feelings, emotions, characteristics. And so, what I would like to see is more people living their lives like that. And I think it's challenging because of the world we live in. It's distracting. It's a bit scary at the moment, anxiety inducing. But actually, if more people are living from their heart and exhibiting those types of characteristics and behaviours, it's got to result in behaviours, actually, not just feelings. Then that's how we make the world a better place. So that's the grand picture,
yeah,
if you like. In the right here and right now, I just want more people to recognise that they can manage their state, that they can self-regulate, and actually it's very simple to do. And I see a lot of people out there who are stressed and anxious and worried about stuff they've got no control over, and there's no value in feeling that. In fact, it's basically killing you slowly but
hmm,
surely. And so, yeah, I just want more people to understand that these very simple techniques, which can be done anytime, any place, eyes open, in the moment, you don't have to go and sit on a Zazen cushion somewhere for half an hour. I mean, do that as well because it's good for you,
yeah,
but you don't need, like, this stuff is available to you as a 30-second thing. 2 minutes, you can achieve an incredibly high level of coherence. You're literally rebalancing yourself in the space of 2 minutes. So just helping people recognize that we have choice over what our bodies are doing, and the way that we're perceiving the world, what our brains are perceiving, that's all dependent on our state. Um, and if more people can do that, then yeah, society will be a lot less stressed. A lot of people will be happier. A lot of people will be healthier. And actually, our perspective of heart, I think that scales up then as well like a community level, a national level, and even an international level. So my great hope is that we can create more of a heart-based world.
Yeah, amazing. And there's something that falls away often when, well, it does fall away when we start to move into those states of stress, those unhelpful levels of stress, and that's connection. And the one thing that I've really found almost instantly, actually, when I started practicing, before I started sharing this through my work, is that I could access this sense of connection again with other people, a deeper connection to myself, a sense of interconnectedness. When we were doing our training on, I think it was on the second or third day, where we were practicing heart coherence together, and then actually sending that awareness out, kind of remembering that we are in practice together, that we are in community together. And it's, for me, and what I found through working with HeartMath, is it helps us to look inwards and outwards, and it builds that connection on both ways. And that in itself is resourcing to remember that we're not alone, and we don't have to hold it all alone. And there's something very beautiful and important about that, especially in the world we're living in right now, to kind of have that sense of community again. Um, I'm really conscious of time because I know that I've got you till for 2 more minutes. Um, for anyone who's listening who maybe is struggling with stress or burnout, what would you love them to know?
Well, I'd just like to leave them with something to practice. So what we call heart focused breathing, which is like the fundamental, the most basic practice within all of HeartMath. All you're doing basically is you're just shifting your awareness into the heart or the chest area. So like broadly this area here. Okay, you don't need to worry about whether it's directly in your heart or whatever. It's kind of like broadly the area that your heart sits in your chest. And once you've got your awareness there, and it really can help putting your hand there just to anchor your awareness there. What you're doing basically is you're breathing more slowly and more deeply, okay, and you're just imagining that the breath is flowing into and flowing out of the heart or the chest area. So you're making sure the belly's nice and relaxed. So as you're breathing in, your belly should be expanding. As you breathe out, it should be contracting. But you've got this sort of awareness or focus in the heart area. So you're just imagining that the breath's flowing in and flowing out through the heart and the chest. With the breathing, should be in and out through the nose as well, ideally. But you're imagining as the breath flows, you kind of maybe for a count of 5 seconds for the in breath and 5 seconds for the out breath. What's more important is comfortable. So if you need to be a bit quicker, that's fine, or a bit slower, that's fine as well. You're still going to achieve a high level of coherence. And just do that, right? Don't even necessarily need to go there with trying to feel different emotions and things, but just recognize that when you don't think you can control anything in your life, or you're confused, or all of that, one thing you can control is your breath. And controlling your breath, actually, you're controlling way more than just your breathing. You are suddenly taking control of yourself, your autonomic nervous system. And if you were wearing one of our gadgets, you would see, as you do that very simple breathing, your heart rhythm will change. They'll go into this lovely sinusoidal pattern, which is basically reflecting the autonomic nervous system is going from sympathetic to parasympathetic, sympathetic to parasympathetic in a lovely synchronized way, not fighting against each other like with stress. So you get into this lovely ordered pattern. And then what you can know as well is that the rest of your body's systems, processes, organs, they will be in training to that same rhythm. That includes your brain. And so, your brain's going to follow, and your brain's going to go into kind of more alpha activity instead of being in the stressy brainwave state and the beta or whatever. So you are in control, literally through the breathing. So that just be my takeaway for everyone. It's like, just give that a go. That's the basics, that's the fundamentals, but it can have a very, very powerful impact on your physiology and also your experience of being a human in the moment.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for today and for starting 20 minutes late because we had technology problems. Because you've had to join on your personal account, where's the best way to find you and find out more about HeartMath?
Well, HeartMath is just our website. So heartmath.co.uk is the UK website, .com is the US website, and .org is the US research website, non-profit research. But me, I'm heartmath.co.uk. Our Insta handle is at HeartMath UK IRL. I think so that we can find us there as well. And if anyone is interested in reaching out to me, then my email is gandrews at heartmath.co.uk. So there we go.
Amazing. Gavin, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure.
Really, really appreciate it. And yeah, speak again soon. But
Yeah,
thank you for today.
thanks for the invitation.
Take care. Bye. Thank you.